Bernie Mac did speak out on the cloning. He did he did try to do something about it. I know because I was there and I saw it, and it's pretty hard to talk about. I remember him with a cigar in his mouth, telling us that we're gonna get out of here or whatever. He's gonna help people, and it's really painful to talk about because they killed him, and you don't see people down there that actually care. He had a heart. I don't know how he got down there. I don't know who convinced him, or what kind of pleasure, vacation, or money, or whatever they put in front of his face, because he didn't belong there. He didn't have much to do with anything there. It's also interesting because I don't know why the fuck he was there, what he was actually doing there. But he couldn't basically perform the heartless acts of torture. And a lot of it kind of comes back to people being there that almost don't need to be there, that are kind of like drawn into it. And then everybody else, for the most part, is there and pretty much taking part in it. So it's rare that you'll see somebody not able to do that, but a lot of times you'll see people that pretty much don't want to be there and are just there because they have to. And a lot of times they'll get caught up in it. That's basically one thing I wanted to say there instead of beating around the bush. You don't dream up fucking memories like that, and they don't come back day after day, month after month, and then people across the world don't talk about them. Doesn't have to do all these things that happened through history from World War II, and the Nazi rails going over to Nazi scientists going over to Antarctica, and Admiral Byrd sending 4,600 Marines, and then coming back saying UFO ships shot down his planes and chopped a warship in half with a laser. If that's all a conspiracy, then all of our history is just one big, not a conspiracy, but a theory, and it's inaccurate. Then all of our history is inaccurate, whether we think it is one way or the other. Because there are symbols all throughout history, all the way to ancient Egypt. You can see it if you open your eyes. That is the story. We were debriefed. That's what they do to people. They just mess with you and show you the truth, and then if you don't tell people, or if you don't do anything positive with it, they use that as proof to say, look at these humans, look at the people, even if they're not, something else. If there's people, they say, look at these people that they don't even fucking care about themselves. Basically, silence or inaction, according to them, is consent, and that kind of is. If somebody's in your house making a fucking sandwich, and you literally don't know this person, but you just go back to bed and don't say anything, you're fucking allowing it. That's how it works. It's basically that simple, because we've been here growing and learning, and essentially ignoring all the truths and the symbols that come out and all the whistleblowers, even though the people that tell us to ignore it feed us poison and bullshit and degrade the society emotionally, even spiritually and psychically. They destroyed the economy, changed up the laws to fit themselves, pushed poison and bullshit out the media, polluted the education system, pushed poison through the medicinal system. The judicial system is corrupt to fucking put prisoners in power. Corrupt in power, and they put the people that try to help, basically, wherever they go. It's all right in front of us. No one's ever fucked with you other than allowing you to ignore the fact that this whole fucking thing is happening right in front of all of humanity all of the time. It might not be directly in front of our faces everywhere, but if you live in another country where you can see these things going on, and you can look at how this pattern of dominance through technology and media is fucking spreading faster than anything, any force on the world. It's spreading faster than human panic. That's because it's controlled, and of course it's controlled by those with money and power to do such a thing, but you look at the fruits that are produced, whether these people that are leading us down this path with technology and goods and economy and this that are actually intending to help us, or whether they're saving the good shit for themselves and giving all the poison to the people. It's a big trip in a way. It's a big trip down a rabbit hole, because you can live your whole life thinking everything is as it's been explained to you, And literally, once it starts to unravel, if you don't know what's happening or why it's happening, it feels like reality is breaking apart and crumbling. In a way, we're lucky to have these experiences because we knew from the first fucking day shit isn't what it seems. Nothing is. And I think we also had these experiences probably because we inherently always knew that something was wrong or that there's more to reality than just the physical sense, because you don't have to go to school and have them bullshit you to realize things aren't as they seem. You can just live in a body and know we're more like an eternal spirit, and physicality is temporary. And our minds teach us this, our emotions, everything teaches us this. We have to let go and learn to grow. What does the society teach us? It teaches us to hold the fuck on, to grab everything and hold on, gather more wealth. Take as many pictures as you can. It's completely opposing a free world, if you would. A free, spirited world where people don't have to struggle because other people want to have more benefits, more pleasure, and more power in a system that's really arbitrary. Because we could all be powerful and pleasure, not pleasure, but we could be at peace and have all the fun really we want in the world if we stick to loving each other. Again, it does come down to some pretty heavy shit with the possibility of another race that probably has always been here, and there's a evolved reptilian, so they don't have the heart chakra. An alligator wouldn't shed tears because it had to eat its young or something like, it's not, it just doesn't happen. I'm going to say you've probably already heard that, but I'll say something else that I don't hear people saying, which is what it was explained to me and what I was receiving through intuition pretty much before all this happened, and probably led to this happening. Them targeting people who are aware of these things. I always explain it like this: an alien is something foreign. If you're an alien in a location, that means you're foreign to there. So any terrestrial beings that are like humans, that live like us and love like us, they're not aliens. They're basically our brothers and sisters, our family. So with that said, there are reports and experiences of both the real reptilian type, troglodyte types. We've seen some shit, we'll start talking about it more and more, but they're down in them caves. They've been there for years. Every story about a knight slaying a dragon, or the castle having a dungeon with a dragon where they feed the fucking poor guy that pissed off the king to him. It all comes back to them living near the caves and making deals with these reptilians all throughout fucking history. That's how it works. Don't believe me? Ask them. Well, don't ask them. It's all about truth and not really having fear about the universe that we live in, because your own mind is capable of creating the complexities of all these things and, leading you into a kind of labyrinth just because of wondering who you are. So we shouldn't be afraid just because there are other beings here, that the universe, the world, the physical world is far more advanced and far more vast than some guy told you, who also wanted your money and your power, while keeping the truth for himself and his family. Basically, with the ones that look like us, it seems most logical to assume, and it was explained, and I've seen some things as well. They may be the human race that survives this invasion and basically made it to the future, with the people that are apparently manipulating time for negative purposes, using lower chakral traumatization schemes, thievery, deception, basically. They're similarly from what we would call the future, but it's another race, and they're coming back to try and secure their position in that future realm. If you don't know about how this works with time and the realities, and that there are more than one happening right now, and you're spread out throughout them, but your consciousness is pretty much condensing to whichever reality you prefer based upon your energetic signature and what thoughts and perceptions you allow, then you have to do your own personal research and go into that. I'll just say right now, the fucking Navy, the Air Force, and the Nazis, all that, they didn't go to the moon. That never happened. They didn't care. Well, I'm just going to say that. They didn't care. It was to pretend to distract you, so you didn't see them flying 6,000 kilometers a mile per hour, fucking not even anti-grav, they call it some type of gravitic drive or something, technology. These crafts. Just to explain away what's going on with all the advancement. But they found out how to fucking time travel. They found out how to time travel, how to bend space and time, bend gravity waves, and propel yourself through the air, through that, in a craft, canceling out the inertia, using torsion fields. I think the first one they said had a spinning Mercury orb in it at 55,000 RPM, and that at certain speeds you get it down to it superconducts, or it acts like a superfluid. There's no friction, and since it's magnetic or electromagnetic, they do something and it becomes superconductive, and the superconductive properties of all the phenomenons of the metals and whatever that they put together is what allows, basically you put all those glitches together, lens effect, dilation, there's so many other ones that they explain. It's like 6 major ones, and they all look like little tricks on YouTube. The magnet floating down the tube, creating basically a magnetic interference pattern, and magnet seems like it floats down. They use every little bit to get quantum tunneling, superconductive properties, and basically they found out how to tap in the 0-point field and use it to power their craft, as well as to manipulate space, and that equals teleportation and time travel, as well as mind. Your mind can basically operate this energy if the craft is producing it, and so your mind is essentially, I don't know how to describe it, but if you're in that craft and you look at the ground and you want the ground to do something, the craft could put out a beam that would do that. It's powered by mind, and it goes much deeper than that. When they're inside the craft, you have to be on the same consciousness as them, or they would probably do something different to contain some shit. But basically, everyone turns into one consciousness inside the craft. You all melt into one ball of light, so everybody's minds is together, which is also dangerous for them doing that, for the types of people that are potentially in these crafts, and what this would enable them to do. They could create basically a reality to live inside, and it's kind of interesting thinking about a huge UFO traveling around the Earth, that there could be basically a huge realm inside of it, and hopefully they're benevolent and positive, and it would be like a universe within a universe. Reality bubbles hovering outside in physical reality, but in that craft you'd have access to all the other realities. It's like it brings a wormhole idea. Basically, the ones that look human and are glowing and tend to have light rainbow stuff coming out of their chakra systems and don't torture or do the weird shit, basically don't rape humans, they're apparently the humans from the future that survived this shit and are coming back to do the same thing that the reptilians are doing, but the opposite, and they're trying to make sure that humanity survives. Why is it happening like that? Because that's the only way it can. Once time travel begins getting involved or becomes involved, then basically that gives that person power over that whole timeline if no one else knows the manipulations. And so there are laws that they can't just come down and go, and then we're all fucking in cages. No, that would break some balance of the structure of why we're actually here, and it would stop. It wouldn't be allowed. Somebody's in control. This is only being allowed because we're allowing it. But in that same sense, if they get us through this timeline, time travel technology, to basically fall into delusion and create that timeline, they can't be blamed. They tricked us, but it still happened. They didn't force us to do it. But that's how you could definitely create a universe and pull a society into a foreign timeline where, 50 years ago, shit was a little bit better. And 100 years, 50 years later, they had no fucking idea how they got there. It's because somebody's manipulating people's minds and getting decisions and probabilities to change and changing the timeline. That's what MK Ultra is. That's what the monarch mind control is. That's what taking kids to the underground bases is. They're able to look into the future and see the kids and the people that would grow up to be people that would change the system, and they fucking go back and change that. They say it's for a plan for God to bring out a culling of the races, the species, because the species got mixed long ago, and that's also what they're trying to do, is genetically mix the two species to create a super race or a third race that would, perform one of their world tasks or some shit, maybe be fucking impervious to the weakness of either side. But I don't think humans have a weakness. I think we're just vulnerable because we don't know how strong we are, because people have been bullshitting us through our entire lives and essentially fucking lying to us and degrading us, abusing us. Our society is based on that. But the life here is based upon what we can pass on to each other. A continuation is always about what's next. So I'm just going to leave it with that. The way it was broken down is that the good, benevolent ETs are humans from the future that realized what was happening, probably seen some effects coming down the timeline, and use the same easy technology, tapping into the 0-point field. I'll go into that later once I figure out the best way to produce what I do know about how it works in a legible manner. They're coming back in this time travel operation to essentially offer humanity a hand, an assistance to climb out of the grave that we're digging for ourselves, that humanity's digging for themselves. And it's because there's a little guy on the side whispering into humanity's ears, putting up all these light-filled messages and images through the media and hypnotism and the air. But the problem is it's working. People are fucking killing the entire planet off, so we have to do something. If you care. If you don't care, then that's fine. You're in the perfect place. You're in the perfect position to experience that, and that's why we're here. If you do care, we have to say something about it. We have to notice it. We have to not pretend to believe that we're literally just an accident of an animal that talks and pretends it's conscious and thinks it's self-aware. Because guess what? The people that are telling you that are doing that so that you act like an animal and you act like you're ignorant so they can abuse you. That's why they're telling you that. We're really not an animal. We're not an accident. And our creation is a big fucking... It's confusing because apparently, once time travel gets into the mix, everything mixes up. Somehow we basically caused our own formation out of history based upon our connection with the future race that's ourselves coming back in time. Which is fucked up, but honestly it's how they do it. Because when they come to you, well, not you, but when they come to people, the people they have, they show them the future. They show them the possibilities that could happen, and they get them literally to jump into the one that's not the best, the one that they want. And yeah, I'm being serious, that's the truth. They have a fucking helmet they can put on and blast the shit out on a screen, and they can see your possible futures down to the fucking words I'm reading on the screen above the camera right now. They can show you that, and you'll remember it when you see it again, but they do that to play with you. Basically, you can't avoid it if you see it. If you connect with it, you avoid it by connecting to something else. If you connect with it and you try to avoid it by basing your actions off of something you saw, you force it to happen. It happens on accident. It happens, and it always happens that way. There's no stopping it. And this is a big deal with, I think it was the Navy or the Air Force that was doing this at first, because they kept seeing the fucking end of the world. They'd send soldiers in there, they'd look, they see a fucking nuke blow everything up. So they're trying to stop the shit, erase the shit, and now look how close we are. So, but again, I was told in another way that nukes won't be allowed to be used, but I'm not going to say anything yet. That was a little bit. There's a lot more. Bernie Mac was good. I guess he is good. This all has to do with time travel. The humans that can help us possibly could be from the future, are literally the future survivors of the human race. It'll all play out, it'll all be made apparent to everybody, but we have to look. If we go like this, when the shit's coming down, they don't care. No one's going to be able to affect us. No one's going to be able to come into our reality, even ourselves, our own presence, to stop what's going to happen. But if we look up and act like we care, and actually care and act on it, then we're way more powerful than anyone's been led to believe. Way more powerful. I'm not going to say invincible, maybe not even immortal, but it's beyond what science says a human should be capable of doing. We're reality generators. If we put our heads together, we can literally force the change that we want to see to happen without actually having a physical, linear cause and effect reality to describe it. It would be like a miracle. And that's what we got to do, basically, but I don't want to say any more than that, so I'll just let it go and see what people think. Thank you.